Branching Out with Sierra. As I mentioned in a previous episode, this season I thought it would be valuable to take some time to talk through those patterns that have emerged after over 100 conversations. And as I started to look at those patterns, I decided I thought we should explore, one per episode, any of my solo episodes, and talk about the things that I'm learning by talking about such a wide variety of people on this podcast. We've had leaders of all sorts, entrepreneurs, people in healthcare, people in banking, real estate, marketing, everything that you can think of, I feel like we've touched. And it's really cool to see the variety of perspectives when it comes to how to lead effectively, where things are different and where they overlap. But I really want to focus on the overlap and what I'm noticing in that. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about not just why so many people feel stuck, but what's actually causing them to be stuck and what are some ways that we can get unstuck. Actually, as I say that, it makes me think of Rob Wentz, who has recorded an episode on the podcast, and he has his own podcast called The Unstuck Movement. So we're kind of talking about getting unstuck today as well. So some people, when they sit down and talk to me, they share that they're feeling stuck, and it's coming from a lot of different places. And I think that some immediately think, I'm just not motivated. I don't have the energy. I don't have the enthusiasm to get myself out of the position that I'm in right now. And so they might be feeling stuck. Maybe they think based on motivation, but there's actually a deeper cause for the lack of motivation if they're not feeling it, right? So as that phrase comes up, some people might think it has to do with laziness even to get out of the situation, or that they're just not capable of getting out of the situation. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the authority. There are so many different ways that we could look at this. But I find that most people already know what they need to do. The part that I always question is, why aren't we doing it? So if you are in a situation, you are clear you don't want to be there anymore, and you need to be unstuck. How do we get you out of there? And a lot of times, the clarity already exists, or if we can get closer to clarity, we have a clear next step. So when I was highlighting the variety of topics and patterns that have emerged in a previous episode, and I kind of gave you an idea of what these solo episodes would look like, I talked about how we don't have an information problem today. We have information everywhere we look. I even had students that would tell me they don't really understand why they need to go to school anymore because they can Google anything that they would need to know. And so why would they go through a course? Why would they memorize information? Everything's at their fingertips. It's never been easier for people to access things, whether it's through, like I said, Google, through a podcast, reading a book, using AI, going to courses or conferences. It doesn't have to be technology, right? You can still go in person and seek knowledge at events. Read a newsletter. I started my weekly newsletter again. I've been getting a lot of responses from that. People are reading it. They're gaining knowledge. They're putting things into practice. I know a lot of people that go to YouTube when they don't know how to do something, like as a homeowner or to their vehicle. They're pretending to be a mechanic. They go to YouTube. So again, the idea is we don't have a lack of information. We have access to it all. And we talked about how important it is to learn as a leader, to always be seeking new information, learning, and growing in every way possible. That can only make us have a greater impact. So with all this access to information, we usually, like I said, know what we need to do. Some people might even ask AI the problem. I know that I have a friend when she has parenting challenges and doesn't know how to address an issue with the child. How do I approach this conversation? I'm not sure how to navigate this difficult situation with my kid. Give me some ideas. She seeks feedback from AI. And so people tend to know that they need to have a conversation, or that there's a boundary that needs to be set, or I need to schedule an appointment and see this doctor for this problem, this issue, or I am at a crossroads and I need to make a decision, or I need to close the loop and follow up on something where I haven't heard back. No matter what it is, all of these things that I'm listing, people know what they need to do, but they're still stuck. And I see it all the time. And I often question, are you actually stuck, or are you just delaying? So you might know what you need to do, but you haven't acted on it. And to me, that's the deeper issue, right? Really understanding that more information is not what you need. That's not going to create the change. Oftentimes, it's the implementation piece that is missing. So allow yourself to feel stuck temporarily, but again, do something about it. And it might sound harsh, and my clients know me well, that if there is something glaring to me, I will hold you accountable and I will say the thing. But oftentimes it's that exact question. Then why haven't you done it? Or in a coaching session, by the end of the conversation, they haven't stopped talking. I haven't had to say a word. And they're like, oh, I guess I just need to say it out loud. I know what I need to do. So now it's the holding them accountable piece. Now, we don't want to confuse busyness with progress. I have been guilty of this in the past. One way we can practice avoidance is pretending to be busy. And believe me, I don't have to pretend to be busy, and I don't think most people have to. We have plenty to do. But if you think about it, there's probably a time where you told yourself that you didn't have time to do that thing because you had too many other things going on. So maybe you're busy helping everyone else, and it would be selfish to spend the time on yourself when you have people around you that need you. I've heard that many times. I'm a leader. I'm supposed to be supporting my people. I don't have time to do this stuff for myself. Believe me, I've thought that too. Or I don't have time, and so you're scrolling through your email and reading the same set of emails 15 times and not really making progress with them, but it's a little bit of avoidance, and you're busy because you have a full inbox. Or maybe there is busyness, you think it's productivity, but it's the constant tweaking, the changing, the same thing over and over again. I've done that for avoidance. I have avoided things as a business owner that don't really make sense to avoid, but I did feel better knowing that I'm not the only one. I have a few friends that do this as well. But I'll give you an example. One of the things that I have not ever really enjoyed is the process of creating a proposal. Now, in my head, I know exactly what I want to do and how to deliver it. But capturing that in a document that is legally binding and checks all of those boxes, but also is worded in a way that makes sense to everybody else, like taking something out of my head and making it make sense to someone else, is not always easy because my mind works in weird ways. And making sure I am showing the value, that I have no errors. It's just, I feel like it's never done, and I tweak and I tweak and I tweak, and I find it very annoying. And I wish I could skip that whole part and just jump in and start providing the service. But this is an important piece of it, and I know that I have to do it. The other thing that I don't love or enjoy is the process of invoicing. And it's hilarious because There have been plenty of times that I really did need the money. It was important that it come in, but I didn't want to have to invoice. I didn't like that process. One, I don't like the process of asking for money, but I'm not even having to talk to the person. I'm sending a message, but even creating an invoice, I don't enjoy. So I will do all the other things, but creating the proposals and doing the invoices. If you look at my Asana right now, you will literally see those things where I've started to now teach myself. I group them together and I'm like, okay, well, once I have several invoices to send to a couple different companies, I'll just sit down in one block and do them all together. Makes it more digestible. Or several proposals to knock out, and I get in that mode. But the timeliness of all of those things is important. The sooner I get the proposal out, the sooner it gets signed and I can move forward, or the sooner I get the invoice out, the sooner I get paid. But again, I'm not the only one that faces this issue. So what I do is I tell myself that I'm busy serving clients. I don't really have time to send the invoices. I don't have time to create those proposals. I'm so busy serving my current clients. That's what I tell myself, but really it's avoidance, and I know that. So I have to sometimes just ask myself, what am I avoiding? And what can I do to overcome that? And that the piece of overcoming that, I was stuck. I didn't want to do any of them at one point. They were all building up. And that's when I came up with the idea of, okay, well, maybe I don't like it because I feel like it takes time to get in the zone. And like, I feel like when I get distracted, it's hard to get back to it. Maybe if I just block time, I protect the time, I set a boundary on it, and that is my dedicated proposal time. I knock them all out at once. That'll feel better. And then I was unstuck. I moved forward. So I had been staying busy and not doing the important thing. And I know I'm not the only one, and people listening to this do the same thing. So I would encourage you to ask yourself, what do I keep postponing? Do I know what I need to do to get unstuck? And am I postponing something, delaying something? And why am I doing that? What might be causing it? So another thing that I think keeps us waiting and keeps us stuck, and I kind of touched on it, it's the perfectionist tendencies. It's that you feel like you need more time to get it right. You need to make sure that you're conveying it in the proper way. And I kind of said that with the proposals, but I was almost thinking about this in the sense of if I'm rolling out a new product or service, if I'm rolling out the concept of the podcast, when I'm rolling out something new for the first time, the tendency is to keep tweaking and saying it's not ready yet. Well, really, I'm just kind of scared that I'm going to put something out there and I'm going to be judged for it. People are going to think it's not great, not a great product, not a great service. And I strive for excellence in what I do. So when I go to launch this, I want that to represent me well. And I say that to the team all the time. I want every communication to represent me well. I want, the website to represent me well. I want my marketing materials. I want all of it to show excellence. And so I can get wrapped up in that and again, postpone. So why am I going to keep trying to perfect something instead of making it available and letting people actually experience it and even get feedback on it? So like this podcast, for example, the sooner I actually started, the sooner I kind of figured out what I wanted a typical episode to look like structurally, or, if I'm having a guest, what I want that experience to be like for them. And I needed to take action before I would have clarity around that. At some point, growth requires more than listening to a podcast. It requires structure, accountability, and someone who can challenge how you're thinking. That's where coaching comes in. Our one-on-one coaching is designed as a long-term partnership focused on clarity, communication, and consistent execution over time. This isn't about quick fixes, it's intentional growth. If you're ready to go deeper, you can start by filling out the individual leadership interest form linked in the show notes. You can also learn more at sierralearnership.com. That's sierralearnership.com. Do you want to accelerate your revenue? Call Work Smarter Digital. Work Smarter Digital helps service-based businesses tighten up their sales process, improve follow-up, and put better systems behind their growth. Because when your sales process is messy, revenue gets messy too. Visit WorkSmarterDigital.com to learn more and book a demo. That's WorkSmarterDigital.com. This year's lineup brings real-world experience from business, media, government, and leadership at the highest levels, including a former FBI chief of staff, high-performing sales leaders, communication experts, and business strategists. This isn't theory, it's real leadership. Join us October 14th and secure your seat at thetsls.com. That's thetsls.com. So I needed to have the first episode before I knew what I could tweak to make it better. I had another friend reach out who was going to start a podcast episode, and she said that they would record one episode. I volunteered to give feedback on it. They'd send it to me before they recorded a whole series of them and realized they didn't like it. But that first one had to happen. So the first time that you take action, you're getting feedback. You're learning from that experience. So actually the perfection, which doesn't exist, it's hard for me to admit, isn't necessary. So that's been a lesson that I've learned myself just through experience, but also through my guests, because I feel like there have been so many examples where they felt like they were stuck because they needed clarity on something, and they realized as soon as the movement began, as soon as they started moving in the right direction, then the clarity came. That's a pattern that's emerged. So I'm going to say that again. Once they started to take action, the clarity became present. And I can understand so many of my conversations as a coach comes down to alignment and getting clarity. And sometimes we have to reverse the process and have someone go out and do the thing first and take action, and then come back and reflect on how did that align? What is more clear to you now having done that? So that is something that I feel like is a valuable lesson. If you haven't learned it yourself yet, something to keep in mind. What is that thing you haven't taken action on? You can constantly look for clarity or even perfection. And I encourage you to take that step. I think one of the other things that causes us to get stuck is we make growth seem much bigger than it has to be. I talk about growth all the time in every capacity. How can I grow in each area of my life? When we talk about the wheel of life, how can I grow? Can I continue to get closer to my level of satisfaction in that area of life? And I think what I mean by we make growth too big is the idea that we feel like we have to have this major transformation. It has to be this major change, a big breakthrough in a conversation with someone, or a big transformation in our body if we're not happy with the way we look. Or when I roll out this new service, you expect immediate results. Everything seems like it has to be so big, but it really doesn't. All of those things can be broken down into something much smaller. I know every single time I get in front of an audience and do a speaking engagement, I grow through that. I didn't see this massive transformation overnight one day to the next, because I finally did the thing. I got clarity on what I needed to do to improve, and every single time I'm in front of a group of people, believe me, I reflect on it after the fact. What went well this time? What could I have done differently? And there's always plenty to continue to grow in, but I can see little positive changes. That happened this week. I was actually facilitating a strategic planning session with one of our collaborative partners. And then afterward, we kind of debriefed at lunch. And she gave me feedback. She said that when I did the kickoff of this conversation with the client, that she was amazed at what came out of my mouth because it felt so natural, and she felt like she couldn't have said it in that way. It seemed like I had practiced it but didn't seem rehearsed, if you can picture both of those at the same time. Like, you said exactly what you needed to say and would have wanted to say, but you were able to do it without practicing it, without it sounding rehearsed. And that meant a lot to me because those that are loyal listeners know that I like to rehearse things and I like to feel prepared, and I've moved away from that. It's been really hard to do, but I find myself, doing less and less of the extremely detailed planning of everything that I am going to say and work through, whether it's in like a session like that or I'm teaching a training, whatever it is. So break it down into smaller things. Just like the transformation doesn't have to be big, the action doesn't have to be big. So you're stuck right now. What is the one small next step that you can take to feel as if you're gaining momentum? And so it might be making one phone call. Maybe it's a phone call that you've been avoiding to begin with. Maybe it's jotting down some of the things you know you want to say on that phone call. Maybe that's the one next step. Maybe it's setting a boundary with someone or something, a situation, setting a boundary that you know you've needed to do for a while. Well, what does that look like? What is the first step in that? Maybe it's a big project that you're working on or something you want to roll out and you feel like you're not giving it the attention it deserves, so you felt stuck for a while and haven't gained the momentum, and maybe it's blocking out focus time to get it done. Go to Rooted Focus. Jocelyn and Sharifa lead those sessions and do a great job of holding people accountable to their commitments during that time. Take an hour and a half and do some focused work. Maybe the one thing for you is an apology to someone. You've been holding on to something for a really long time, or following up with someone you haven't talked to in a while and you want to show that you care. What is the thing you need to do to get unstuck? Break it down into baby steps and ask yourself, what is the smallest step that I can take this week? Back when I was super amazing at working out, it didn't start that way, of course. My one small step was actually laying my workout clothes and my sneakers at the end of the bed each night before I went to bed, so that when the alarm went off in the morning, it was one less barrier between me and the workout. Because I couldn't make the excuse that I can't find something to wear, I don't know what to wear, and it's going to take too long to find the clothes. Nope, I already laid those out. I removed that barrier, and that one little step got me up and dressed, and now that I'm dressed, I have to do something. I'm not going to wear workout clothes and not do anything. So that was the one small action that it took. So I always talk about the fact that leadership isn't just about leading other people well. It's about leading yourself well. And so all of these things that I'm talking about today apply to all areas of your life. And that's why I'm using an example of, physical health. It's relatable. Everybody has had some physical health barrier at some point, I feel. The other thing I wanted to address is how much your environment matters. So maybe you're stuck, and maybe you continue to be stuck because the environment you are in right now doesn't support your growth or doesn't support you getting unstuck. And I think that I've done episodes before about the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people, people that are growth minded like you, people that are going to push you, hold you accountable, all of those things. That's a part of your environment. Maybe it would help you get unstuck if you look at the people around you and make sure they're not making you feel stuck. They're not holding you back in some way. Your environment is so much more than just the people, right? It's the workspace. Are you stuck because of a workspace issue? Are you stuck because of a habit issue? Your calendar? What is it going on around you that's creating the challenge, the issue for you? And break that down into how you can overcome that and create a better environment to support that growth. And I brought up accountability. When I say a habit or a calendar, that's accountability right now, right there. The first thing that I say when I'm talking to someone about, a goal, when I ask about it being time bound, a lot of times they'll say, well, I need to create this habit by this date. Okay, well, it's not a habit right now. So what do we need to do to kick it off and gain momentum to where it becomes a habit? A lot of times people need a calendar invitation to themselves or an alarm set. Something in their environment needs to happen. Maybe you pair it with a habit that already occurs. I need to do my Bible study. I need to be better about that. Well, I want to pair it with drinking my coffee. I'm going to drink my coffee in the morning. So when I make my coffee, I'm going to make sure that my Bible is laid out, and that triggers, oh, I need to do that this morning, right? That's an example of attaching that new habit to an old habit. That creates an opportunity in your environment for you to be successful and to feel like you're no longer stuck. Like you can't, I can't do it because I don't have enough time in the morning, or I'm too tired in the morning. Remove some of those barriers for yourself, because it's not going to happen if you don't. So those are the things that I really wanted to touch on. There are so many others that have come up as patterns, but those are the key things. I think it really comes down to removing those barriers, taking those small steps, asking yourself, is this an avoidance thing? If it is, what am I avoiding, and what is the small thing I can do to get past that? And finding that right group of people to surround you and support you. Remember, if you take away one thing today, what I want you to remember is a lot of times when we're stuck, we know what to do, we have the knowledge and understanding, we just haven't taken action. Or we need more clarity, but the clarity won't come until the action occurs. So take that small action, learn from that action, reflect on it after the fact, and then determine where to go from there. And chances are at that point, you've gained some momentum, you've gained some confidence that you're headed in the right direction. And I believe that each step becomes a little bit easier. So that's our episode for today. I really want to challenge you to slow down a little bit and ask yourself, is there anywhere in my life where I'm feeling stuck? If so, why am I feeling stuck, and what small action can I take this week to gain some momentum? That's what I'd love to challenge you to do. I look forward to also featuring this in my weekly newsletter. So I have started sending out my Growth Gazette again, and I am featuring my podcast episode from the previous week in there. So this will also be in my newsletter. If you're not getting the Growth Gazette, be sure to go to my website. It'll be in the show notes, and subscribe so that you're getting newsletters I am getting great feedback, to be honest, that people are actually reading them and reflecting on the activities that I'm putting in there. And I'm trying to make sure that the topics really all align with what I'm covering in episodes as well. And people can see the different ways to access what we're doing, whether it's through a podcast, through Rooted Focus, through coaching, through the summit. There's so many different ways to access growth and opportunities for your leadership development. So check that out in the show notes if you're not subscribed. I want to be sure that those newsletters are landing in your inbox every week. And if you think you're supposed to be getting it and you're not, check your spam, because we have had issues with that in the past where people think they're not getting it. Check their spam and they're in there. Be sure to add us as a contact so you're getting those as well. I am really excited because we do have a new partner in place this year that is partnering for the Tri-State Leadership Summit, but also as a sponsor of this podcast. If you haven't heard some of those commercials, hopefully you heard some in this episode. Thank you to Work Smarter Digital for being a part of our podcast. Mary Sue Dayhill has been on multiple times. We're excited. We're going to welcome her back again later this season. She's very involved in the Tri-State Leadership Summit. She provides the CRM that I use to keep myself organized and keep track of all of my contacts in my business and do so much more. So just a little shout out to her as well. If you are not subscribed, please follow, please subscribe to this podcast so you're getting notifications when a new episode comes out every Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. We would love to see you there. We also would love for you to follow us on social media. We did get our TikTok up and running. Thank you to Audrey, our intern this summer. She's been very helpful in putting together some reels and getting some stuff out on social media. So that has been great. If you're not following us there, be sure to do that as well. Anything that you think you find value in or someone else will find value in, please share it. Share it with others in your network and help us to continue to grow this network of people who believe in the importance of growth and leading yourself effectively and having a positive impact on others. Until next time, keep branching out. Before we wrap up today's episode, I want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for choosing to spend your time here. I don't take that lightly, and I'm really grateful you're a part of this community. If something from today's conversation resonated with you, I want to encourage you to do a couple of things. First, take one small step. Not everything, just one. Growth doesn't come from hearing more, it comes from applying what you already know. And second, share this episode with someone who could benefit from it. These conversations are meant to spark growth, and you never know who might need to hear exactly what you just heard. If you haven't already, be sure to follow or subscribe to Branching Out with Sierra so you don't miss future episodes. And if you believe in this mission, helping people apply leadership skills to everyday life, and you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, I'd love to connect. You can find more information in the show notes or reach out directly. Quick note before we close, this podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. While we share insights and experiences to support your growth, it's always important to apply what fits your situation and seek professional guidance when needed. And finally, I want you to hear this. No matter where you are in your journey, whether you are leading a team, growing a business, navigating change, or just trying to show up better each day, you are exactly where you need to be to take your next step. And you have the ability to positively influence others in every interaction you have. I'm rooting for you, I believe in your growth, and I'm here to support you along the way. Thanks for being here.